Papa Jeff's America program is made possible by contributions from listeners like you. Thank you. If you'd like to buy Papa Jeff a cup of coffee, visit us on the web at coffee.papajeffusa.com, because you know how much Papa Jeff loves his coffee. Papa Jeff's America, the talk radio podcast, continuing the conversation, one podcast at a time. It's talk radio time from Houston, Texas, broadcasting around the country and around the world. Welcome to the Papa Jeff's America program. We're the talk radio podcast that discusses the stuff and things that you want to talk about. The talk radio podcast continuing the conversation, one podcast at a time. Inspiring guests, insightful commentary, and what would a day be without Papa Jeff's classic old guy humor, right? So, here's the guy that has trouble seeing the big E on the eye chart. The guy that some would say has a unique sense of humor, and the guy that definitely has a face for radio. Here's Mr. Here We Go himself, PG the OG, Papa Jeff. Welcome to Papa Jeff's America. Continuing the conversation, one podcast at a time, I'm Papa Jeff, and this is Papa Jeff's America. Here's what's coming up on today's broadcast. Do you believe in ghosts, in the paranormal? Have you ever been somewhere and felt a sudden cold draft pass through when the rest of the room was a normal temperature? Have you ever felt as if something touched you and nothing was there? Have you ever heard of some place that was reported to be haunted, and being the curious person you are, you went there and maybe you just got a little bit more than you bargained for? Has something happened to you, or have you seen or felt something that you just can't explain? Well, today's guest has experienced all of these things and more. He realized at a young age that he'd been given a gift, so he decided to embrace and to pursue it. Tim Johnson is a paranormal investigator with Ghosted UK. He's been there and done that, and he's going to share some of his experiences with us today. Tim Johnson will join us in just a little bit. The Papa Jeff's America program, continuing a conversation, one podcast at a time. Here's today's fun coffee fact. According to the Insider.com website, there have been 3 distinct coffee waves, or trends, that have defined the evolution of how people consume the drink. In the first wave, coffee was a cheap, accessible commodity where everything pretty much tasted the same. Popular coffee shops led the second wave with sweet flavorings and other customizations that added value, though the base roast was generally a blend that's consistent in flavor. The third wave of coffee has become a specialty product with an origin, a story, and distinct flavors that tell that story. Roasting has become an art, and that unlocks the nuanced flavors of carefully sourced, precisely cultivated beans. And there you have it, today's fun coffee fact. It's 79 degrees and mostly cloudy with 87% humidity at the Talk OG studios in H-Town, Space City, Houston, Texas. We're the city with no limits. We're Houston strong. Coming up for us after a short break. In the title track to the movie Ghostbusters, Ray Parker Jr. sang, "I ain't afraid of no ghosts." Question is, are you? Well, we'll see. Tim Johnson, Ghosted UK, next. The Papa Jeff's America program is on the air. Anytime, any device, papajeffusa.com. Tim Johnson is a paranormal investigator in the United Kingdom. He has over 30 years of experience as a paranormal investigator. His organization is known as Ghosted UK, the East Anglia Paranormal Team. Tim, welcome to the program. Thanks for taking the time to come on with us.
Hello, welcome.
So glad you're
I,
here. Go ahead.
I say, I was going to say hello, thank you for letting me join your amazing show, but I just said welcome, thinking I'm broadcasting.
Well, we might as well be, because we try and get as close to live radio as we can, and I'm so grateful that you've taken the time to come on. Guys, what you don't know in the background here, some of you may, but what Tim and I, mostly on my end, have been trying to put this broadcast together for months. The last thing that we actually tried to do was back in February, when Texas had its odd snow freeze debacle, and we had some air conditioner problems here at in our studio area, and it was a problem, and so we had to put it off, and so we just now were able to put it back together here in the last few days. And Tim, one, I'm glad you're still speaking to me, and,
Yeah, so yes.
and that you're
Yeah.
here and able
Uh,
to do that.
as you know, I've done broadcasts before on Facebook, and that's where I said welcome at the beginning because that's habit I do.
And that's a great habit to be into. You know,
Oh,
your
and
website and your Facebook page states that Ghosted UK is a Norfolk, England based unit of parapsychology, and that your team, your unit, has decades of experience in the fields of hauntings, poltergeists, and other related phenomena. They investigate homes and businesses in the UK, and that you guys operate as a nonprofit organization. I thought that was very cool.
oh yes, yeah, we're not. We don't do it for the money at all. We're not interested in that. We do it because I think with most of the team, I think that combined about 140 years experience in the paranormal field, which is quite a long time
That,
combined. That is not one
yes.
person.
Yeah, that'd be a lot for one person too, but
Yeah,
yes.
and when I've worked with different teams and things like that, and I've been on my own doing bits and bobs and stuff. I decided to set up a team which I thought would work. So the most important about when we investigate is to debunk everything. So I needed a team that I could trust.
Mhm.
So you don't get people tapping on the floor, and because I've spoke to a few teams in the past that said they had one person who used to tap on the floor or used to fake stuff and things. So I had to make sure I picked like the what I thought was hopefully the best of the best. So when you investigate these locations, and sometimes they take like 10 hours or 12 hours at a session. Sometimes they can take weeks, I think. With Andrew, he said he's worked on a case that took 7 years.
Oh my.
So you don't want to be sitting there thinking you got evidence and you find out there's one, could possibly one of your team member has decided to add a bit of entertainment for whatever reason. So you've got to trust your team, and that's then when I picked the team we got at the moment, and it works. We seem to capture some amazing evidence over. I think we've been together 2 or 3 years now, and we've been catching some amazing evidence.
Well, I would agree with you. I've seen some of your videos that you posted to Facebook, and it's very, very interesting. And it's clear that your team works well together. That's an important thing too. And I absolutely agree with you. You know, someone that's gonna not do it right and just do it for the entertainment value and try and set up things, that kind of takes out the whole excitement of the whole science behind it. And there are things out there that we don't understand, that we're trying to understand, and it just makes it so much easier if people would just do it right. And that's what you guys are doing, and I'm impressed with that. What got you into doing this? What got you into paranormal research?
Um, there's a couple of things really. When I was about 10, I was messing around with a Ouija board, which I'd made myself, which the most stupidest thing ever. And me and my friends were around, so let's contact the dead, blah, blah, blah. And a picture on the wall came off the wall and then nearly hit me. And that sort of raised my bar then. Though I couldn't sleep for weeks on end after.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to sleep now.
I needed the light on, I saw forever. And then there was an occasion when I went with a school trip and I saw my cousin, and he was a very young lad, 21, I believe, and he was standing there in front of me, and I witnessed him stand there saying everything's okay, and I had it witnessed by friends who were with me, and it was a figure like me and you standing there, and I thought, what's he doing here? What's going on? And I get back and then was told that he'd passed on roughly the same time I'd seen him, which was a Wednesday night. And that, things like that. And then I saw someone else who had passed. I'd been on a caravan site, and we were walking around, and I saw the lady who was with me, her son, standing there. And when we got back after a couple of hours, the police were waiting and then informed them that he'd passed about a couple of hours before. And that really did freak me out. And that was I've had the thing where we've been, a school soccer, you call it over there, we call it football over here.
Mm-hmm.
And we're doing our training on a Friday night as usual. I think it was a Friday night. And it's the strange thing about the school, I was only about 10 or 11 again, and we were practicing for our league match for the Saturday, and we had someone come in the door downstairs and come up towards the stairs in the canteen. I don't know if you know what a canteen. I'll just try and be careful with my words so you know. So your folks over there, over the pond now. And we had these, like the door go, and the manager then said, I think we've got company, there's an intruder, we need to, like, you lot stay there and we'll go and find out what's going on. And as kids as you do, we were standing next to him to find out what was that. We get down the stairs, we're looking, and I believe, I can't remember for sure whether the door was open or shut, but something strange had happened with the door. And there was footprints, muddy boot prints actually, going across the floor halfway up the stairs. And you could see the muddy boot prints. And we were like, what there? So he said, we've definitely got an intruder, blah, blah. Well, we stayed with the trainer, which was my friend's dad at the time, and we stayed there in the hall still. He searched around. There's no one that was in the building or nothing like that. And that was just unbelievable. It was really freaky.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, and apparently we found out, because we got told not long ago that the caretaker was on holiday, apparently, because I am going back a few years, unfortunately. So my memory's not. And he said that, the caretaker was on holiday, but apparently he'd passed.
Oh.
Not long before with these, and there was rumours that was the caretaker. And the most strangest thing was, years later, when we were doing a private investigation, a house investigation, we spoke to the lady there, and she was telling us this story, which I said, and I said, "Oh my God, it's become a legend."
Yeah.
It's just and it become a legend of this sighting of this, this caretaker haunts the school, and that's really sort of gave me a bit of a buzz then, because I thought, because that was me. I'm not terrible for stories. I've got to tell you the story about Miller. So I think it got out there, and I think it became the legend of this caretaker that haunts the school.
Right.
It brought a smile to my face after a long time, about 40 years.
Wow.
So
that was
you're
kind
gonna,
of the start of the whole thing that got you into doing
yes,
what you're
about,
doing today.
yeah, we'd go around about 12, 13, we'd go around and apparently there was a ghost train I had, and I'd get, most of it is like intelligence, get these stories
Hmm.
and find out if there's anything there. And most cases there wasn't, we didn't see no ghost train apparently and things like that. People had seen lights coming down this old abandoned railway, and no, I didn't see them. Then over the time, it got like, to take account, because equipment was very slim then, not like now. All you had was a camera and a recorder, maybe, a video camera I got from a Christmas once, and I took that out. It was very primitive, I think it's a 8 mil, I can't remember now.
Hmm.
And you'd go out. Then I had a video recorder that was the size of like a bomb. That was
Yeah.
gigantic thing.
Yeah.
That weighed
Yes.
6 tons, and you put a cassette in it, and then a Betamax.
Right.
You put it in, and you got always then you put a fresh. I realised because that was all made up to a point where I think, well, I've got to put a fresh one in, because you're going to get ghost and recording from the last recording, same
Hmm.
as when you take photography, double exposures and whatever.
Hmm.
So, and I was living in this house, and we that was definitely haunted. That was very active, and trays in the kitchen were thrown on the floor. Our dog then used to bark at nothing and stare at the corner. And you could get certain smells in there, or really cold spots in there. You'd freeze, and then in the summer, I was shivering here, and then you couldn't work that out, because that was quite warm. As soon as you go outside out of that room, that was warm. Until you go back in that room, that was freezing. That was like walking into a freezer. And smells, really sort of different
Hmm.
smells, like lavender, and get all these nice smells actually. Not, and sometimes you got sort of eggy smells. Sometimes we had. It was really strange, these different smells that you'd smell them for like a few seconds and then they're gone. Anyway, I had this video recorder, and I was recording around in the house, whatever. And I went back on the recorder to listen to it, and I couldn't hear nothing. I didn't hear a thing, anything unusual on it. But my other half, she said, "Can I have a look for it?" I went, "Yeah, go on, you do it." Well, we come across this EVP, something out of a horror movie, and it was really like nasty, sort of terrible voice. And I found out, I believe, that was Latin.
Oh,
And yeah, and I never did find out what it meant, unfortunately, because I think the tape got wiped,
right.
unfortunately. But that was the most scariest thing. So at the time, and also a glass in a cabinet. It was a wine glass, and it was tilted inside the cabinet, glass cabinet with glass shelves, and the wine glass was tilted at an angle inside the cabinet. So the stem of the glass was on the shelf, and the top of the glass was actually leaning against the door,
Hmm.
which is physically impossible. Because when these things happen, I try to debunk them straight away. I think, nah, I don't always think everything's paranormal all the time, because that's where you get sucked into it, thinking
Hmm.
everything's paranormal. I took a picture. I had a picture of it, and was showing it to some friends, and they were going, "Oh my God, how you put that in there?" And I go, "You come round, Martin, and you try and put it in that position, because I can't." You couldn't. It just went. It just physically. It's weird, because as soon as I went in the cabinet to try and, you know, even if I just touched the door, the glass fell straight down. Boom.
Yeah.
Straight on the glass thing. Smash. I didn't smash the glass like that. It just went just touching the door. Even trying to get in there to move it, sort of thing, or put it, But I tried many times to try and put it in that same position to see if I hold, and it would not. It just kept straight down. and fallen on the glass every time. It just would not hold there in that position, which was quite interesting.
Something out of the ordinary caused that to happen, because you couldn't duplicate it, you couldn't make it happen. So something that's
No.
well, not normal or paranormal caused that to
Yes.
happen. And there are things that do happen. I firmly believe that. And
Yes.
a lot of people don't. I personally have been in my previous life, shall we say, when I was doing my paramedic thing, I have been with patients when they've passed away, and there's a feeling there. There's something that's there. I couldn't put my finger on it, no pun intended, but there was something different. And I've been to just different places. They say that the sailing ship, the Queen Mary, which is I believe is still in the port of Long Beach and is now a hotel,
Yes.
and does tours. They say that is a place with a lot of paranormal activity. I have not stayed there, but I have been on the tour going through there in my younger days, and there's an area there where they actually take you to a part of the ship that has taken on water and I guess is actually underwater. And there's something there. You can feel it. There is some energy, some force that is definitely there. And it's people say, "Nah, I don't buy that." Okay, well, if you don't buy that, that's okay. But it's there. I've been to I haven't been to the actual memorial at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii, but I have been out to but the closest you can get without actually taking the boat out to the actual USS Arizona Memorial. And there's a feeling that's there too, because so many service members perished and are
Yeah.
buried at sea. They're there. And it's there. You just and maybe you have to be attuned to these things or something. You have to be, maybe your own energy has to be open to that, because some people just won't believe anything. But
it helps. I think it helps if you. I think it's something that. I mean, it could be some people saying you're born with this gift,
mm-hmm.
and some people say then that you just develops. You can develop it, but when you're an investigator, it does help to have slight gift, as long you don't use it to like everything is a spirit or ghost.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you start using that, then you're not really, it's difficult. You've got to watch you don't cross the line as an I know as mediums do investigations, it's great, but you've got to watch you don't cross the line that everything's, a spirit.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to debunk it all the time, because if you don't, then you're stepping over the line, I believe, because I do know some medium investigators, they think everything's a spirit. And no, if you get a name, it doesn't mean, you get a name that's linked to anything. You got to get basically the name, first name, a surname, and try and get as much information. You're bound to investigate, and you need to get as much information you can to validate any paranormal activity or the person who's haunting the location. And but there's definitely to do with that ship you were saying about, because I've had a lot of people mention they've been on there,
mm-hmm.
experience. But I think you have to have it does help having a gift. I think I wouldn't capture as much evidence as I didn't if something I had this connection. I mean, I don't think it'd work. I don't think you'd get as much evidence.
You guys have on your Facebook page, you have a new video that's posted. And I believe we talked about that it's actually an ongoing investigation for your team, that there was an event that was at the Redoubt, Fort Harwich. and I had read that that is a circular-shaped fort that was built in 1808 to defend the port of Harwich in Essex from the Napoleonic invasion. I know you have an interesting story that goes along with that, but that's a new investigation for you. I watched the video. I was very impressed. There's something there. Um, I hope you guys are able to continue on with that and get that going. But your team was in, I believe, an old prison cell that was there, and your team was communicating with. I heard several different voices. It was, of course, that's not my field, so I don't know who's talking and saying what, but they appeared to be hearing the voice of someone that perhaps was illegally persecuted. And I know you and I talked about this a little bit off air, but tell us about that investigation and tell us about Fort Harwich.
I mean, yeah, like you say, it's basically a circle. It's a strange place because it is a complete circle, and it's got like a moat, and then you've got a high wall the other side. I was told the moat was never actually full of water. I don't know if that's true or not, but I heard it was just, if you climb over the wall, there's a big drop down the other side. So unless you had a rope or something. But yes, it was just held military personnel, and I think they only fired one shot at the French and missed. Apparently. But then it was just sat there as a barracks, really. And then I think it was used later on in World War, I think it was World War II, possibly World War I, I'm not sure. Definitely World War II. And they kept prisoners in there. It was then went to, a place where it just completely fell apart. There weren't much left of it, it was in ruin, really. And then I think in 1959, they started rebuilding it, and brought it back to life, really. And it's an amazing building, it really is. I still got some of the original cannons still there as well, and I'm talking cannons the size of probably 12 foot long, 15 foot long cannons.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know exactly. I'm not the best at history, unfortunately. I learn it when I need to. But yeah, we went there as an event, and we take only a certain amount of people along, and all the money proceeds goes to the fort, and we don't do table tipping and all that sort of thing. You basically investigate with us, and you use all the equipment. We'll teach you how to use the equipment. We teach you how we investigate. And interestingly, we went in one of the rooms. I can't remember what one it is, and we went in, and it was dark and dingy. And we went in there, and I've had such a great thing before, because we had lockdown and stuff like that. Before lockdown, I started using more of the knock once for yes, twice for no.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a different story. And I started getting some great results with it. Like, I don't know, 40 minutes talking to Arthur Lowe from Dad's Army, communicating with him. Yeah, that's another story.
You'll have to come back.
Yeah, complete response. Yeah, you ask them, you say things like how many people are here, and that knock exactly the amount, and you ask male or female, how many male, how many female, and things like that, and they're spot on every time. As soon as you ask, boom, the knocks are there. And that was amazing that when you experience that sort of thing. And so I tried that in there, and me and Natasha, our medium, was in there when we were trying to, and we got some knocks, we got some responses. And there's ways, you see, in case accidentally someone's tapped the foot by thing. And one of them I use is my nephew was there actually, Daniel, and he was standing down the far end, and these knocks were down like one end. But with these knocks you get, you never, not always pinpoint where they are. They're like in the atmosphere, which is the interesting thing. they're not always like on a table or a door. So a lot of them I've experienced is always in the atmosphere. You can never pinpoint them. They're very difficult. Sometimes they are outdoors and bits and bobs, but they change. They'll change direction or down one end and the other. So I asked, when we're getting this response for these knocks, I said, can you respond by knocking behind Daniel? And guess what? We had a knock right behind him.
Wow.
So the spirit we were communicating could actually pinpoint where the knock was where I wanted it, roughly from where I was standing, and he knew who he was. This is the interesting. This is over my head with this, It's like, hang on, whoa. So it makes you start thinking, well, they know, they seem to know your name. I've asked the question, do you know my name? They said no, but then on other investigations, they've actually, said my name a few times.
Oh.
I've shown a few EVPs when we done the Hopton Church. There was a case of sightings around there. Actually, people driving into a ghost and actually stopped the car. Even the police have actually hit a person apparently and got out, and there's no one there. So we were investigating that area, which we believe was linked to this church. And I actually saw a figure walk past as well, which was quite interesting. That's another story. It sounds like everywhere we go, we get activity. Yes, we do. Actually, it gets like that nowadays. But some places we've been, we didn't get much, but we always seem to get something.
Right.
Which is anyway, we asked this chap, and we said, is he English? He went, no. And I said, are you German? He went, no. And then they mentioned Polish, and a big loud knock. And then we asked, say, are you under 40? Are you under 30? Are you in 20? And apparently he was under 30, but not under 20, I believe. And yeah, we were getting this Polish chap completely communication. Plus, which we're now looking at the evidence at the moment, we believe we use a REM pod, and which is its own bubble of EMF field. So anything goes through it, it sets off these certain coloured lights. And it seemed to be like Morse code. So we're going to check out to see if it is Morse code, and if it is, what did it say? Plus, when we were in the jail later, we heard that someone said that he had murdered a maid. This Polish. We got told not to trust this Polish soldier. That's another thing we got. Then later on in the cell, we got told that he murdered a maid.
Oh,
so that was interesting. And this Polish, he answered that he's Polish. And we asked him something the medium picked up. That he had one leg. And apparently he said he had one leg and he'd been well injured. So that was quite interesting.
Yes, indeed.
I'll let you speak now because I'll go on forever.
No, you're fine, and I know our audience is definitely wanting to hear more. This is an ongoing investigation for you, right? You guys are you're not at the bottom of this yet, and you're going to continue. So we'll definitely want to have you back and keep us posted about what's happening here, because now you've caught my interest. And
we set up eight CCTV cameras all around the base inside as much as we can. We put trigger objects in front to see if they move anything, and we get lots and lots of names come through, and we try and pinpoint who they were. Were they working there? Were they military personnel, or were they others working out, like a gardener? And we've had a lady at one church who apparently was kept the gardens nicely, but she didn't like us being there, and swore one of the girls on her. I ain't going to say the word,
right?
And we traced her as a person who was actually years ago used to keep the gardens nice, and she didn't like us being there apparently. the weird thing is the medium had picked that up when she got there. That was this lady done, and then she didn't like us. She didn't want us there, and she's swearing at us. And then the EVP later on was telling us to, go and clear off, basically, which we did actually. We didn't stay long.
So the lady that tended the gardens was there, and she was not happy with you.
No, she wasn't. I mean, most of these churches we've investigated. I mean, Andrew's investigated thousands of them, and most of the experience is quite pleasant, relaxing, calm. The only hauntings we know of, I mean, it's not like that there's say 5,000 people buried there. They're all going to come out and haunt you. What you can.
Right.
It's normally the vicar or someone who cleaned the area, who loved the location, who even visited the area at one time. They're the sort of hauntings you'll probably get. I think that's a big possibility that people who love building something you love, like objects. We've had hauntings of objects moving and things like that. I think it's the love of that object that someone's, like your grandfather's clock someone's had, or an old watch they've kept for years, and they loved that watch, cleaned it every day and looked after it. That's that love for something, I think, is a big involvement in the paranormal. People don't realise from experience,
It's not just spirits of people, it's spirits of objects.
Yes, people get attached to objects, and I think the energy then, it gets attached to this object, and I've proved it many times by, we've had, I think it was Elvis Presley, something come through. That was a shop that we investigated, and it was a brick and brack shop. I don't know what you call it over there. Some bits and pieces, old stuff, I call it. There's no 1940s radio in there, and we were investigating that. And this is the interesting thing. We was saying about Morse code earlier. We heard Morse code signals coming through the radio that wasn't even plugged in.
Wow.
It didn't even work. And there was 5, 6 of us witnessed this, and I actually got it on video as well. You can hear the beep beep beep, dot dash dot. That was quite interesting. And they mentioned something about Elvis in this thing, and I kept going on about Elvis. And when the owner come back, and we were talking to him, and I said, because he used to go in, and the shop used to be moved, the mannequins they had in there used to be moved, and the ties thrown on the floor and things like that. And I said, this person was going on about your something to do with Elvis. He said, Elvis? And he realised that he had an Elvis picture in there, but he'd removed it because he didn't like it. And I said, I think you need to put it back.
Yeah.
So he did, and apparently all the activity stopped. So it's something about this Elvis picture's got to stay there permanently.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's true. Honestly true. He said, I put it back, and we had no. I said, well, see how you get on, because that's how you do. Just put it back and see how it got on. And he came back to me and said, all the activities stopped. So that was quite interesting.
Definitely. I know you guys, especially because of COVID, you guys have done a lot of Facebook Live things, and hopefully you're going to continue to do them. But I know that you have groups of people that come together on your Facebook Live, and you've even had your medium or mediums, I might say, do some readings online. That I think that's pretty interesting too.
Yes, Lanier, she's done a few readings, and Natasha, our own medium. But we just sort of, they wanted to do something, and I said, to get the connection out to people. I said, yeah, of course, I'll but something not so technology savvy, thing. I said, well, I think Nia is in Boston, and she's a lovely lady. I said, yeah, well, come on here and do your readings. And some people are skeptic about mediums and stuff like that. I've always been skeptical of mediums,
Mm-hmm.
bits and bobs. I think, especially like on the TV, because there is some still I've seen. And, oh my God, really? But some of the things she said on there, if you ever listen to them and you write all the information down that she says, it's this lady, for instance, she said, I see you see Big Ben every day, the London clock, and you see that every day, blah, blah, blah. And she was talking to her and all that. And I know with Lanier, she there's no way she's not technology savvy, trust me.
Okay.
Hope you don't mind me saying that, Lanier, if you listen. And she'll tell you that she is not. She has to get people to help her to get on the actual Facebook itself to set up, the streaming, because she hadn't a clue. And she was saying to this lady, and she said, and apparently the lady lives in London. She does walk past the actual tower every day.
Oh, okay.
She's in Boston, and this lady's obviously in the UK. And there's things, other lady, she said, I think, you got a crystal ball next to you or something, she said. And the lady this is the lady's response. Oh my God, how did you know that? I've got a crystal ball actually next to me. And some of the things she was coming up, and we had a parent. I've got to watch what I say. It's a murder case, and we had a private investigation, and there was something happened. I've just got to watch what I say here. I can say, well, when I went round there, I used a device called I forgot what it's called now, an ovulus, sorry, and I asked her about the house bits and bobs, and asked some questions like that. And the first thing, as soon as we got on it, I turned around and said, tyre, bones, and a knife. No, a spoon, sorry. And I said, oh, okay. And then the lady was in shock. She said, oh my God. I go, what? She said, dug the garden up, we dig a tyre up and some bones and a spoon. I think, what? And that straight away, these 3 words came into that was direct to what she just said. And they'd only dug them up the other day. And because of the bones, we had to check that wasn't a murder case, something been buried there. And luckily, it wasn't. There was no connection. But there was some information that Lanier got that was quite interesting to the murder case we thought it was, or might it be. Well, I say murder, missing persons, actually. And we were trying to, and Lanier does things like that. She'll see if she can pick up on anything. And it was quite interesting. Some of the things she said was actually connected to the case, but we couldn't take it any further than that. Unfortunately, it's one of them things. They could say, yes, this person murdered them, and that's where they're buried. That'd be brilliant, because at least it's a difficult subject to know, but at least it gives the family a bit of, what's the word I'm looking for?
Closure.
Closure. That's it. Yeah. And we've been asked to investigate disappearance, missing cases, and things like that. Because if, in a way, if we can communicate with the dead, maybe we can, people who have passed might be able to come forward and tell us what's happened to them. And we're trying to do more of that, to be honest, but see if that'd be. But you've got to be very sensitive to these things, especially if they're children cases. It's not, obviously, with the family permission, we would give it a go, definitely. Because if we can get all this information and something that'll give a little bit of a lead on what's happened, and it gives people closure, I think it'd be. Because I think before, didn't they? Mediums had tried it, and they've got it all wrong, and there was a big hoo-ha about it, and people got upset by dragging the past and bits and bobs. But in some cases, if it's done properly, and correctly and respect, I think, you could get some. The family want closure. They want to know, but are they buried? No. I think with a case of a young girl who got murdered years ago, and I can't say too much, but we were interested in working on the case, and some murders. Some 5 people got murdered. The case was, the person was sentenced, but the case still sits there. Sort of, that's not really sure what happened.
Mm-hmm.
People always keep thinking, did that really happen? There was things that weren't 100% about the case. But we'd love to do things like that. That's something that would be more an interest. I mean, we've come across cases where it said someone got a lady was murdered. I can only say this a bit because it was years ago, hopefully, in recent, and the lady was murdered and on a beach near us, and we got the lady's name and the certain jewelry she was wearing, and we checked it, and that was true. That was true that she was murdered. The certain on the beach, and she said something about the person who done it got away with it, but they caught the person for the murder. So were they wrongfully tried? I don't know. That was quite interesting because the lady was quite adamant that it wasn't, the person who got prosecuted for wasn't the person who killed her. So that was quite interesting.
Oh, okay. Surprise.
Yeah. So, and I did read sound about the person did actually have a twin. It was in the area at the time. That's a case that maybe I shouldn't be mentioning, but it's an old case, a very old case of 1800s or something. So, yeah. So you see, they do communicate to give people closure. I think that's something, that you've got to look at. I think it's a good thing as long as it's done sensibly.
Mm-hmm.
And with respect. We always respect when we speak to these spirits. We always respect them all the time. I think they see you who you are. If you know what I mean. If I'm just doing it for money, and I'm thinking I don't really care whether it's paranormal or not, they'd see you a mile off. They know, so it wouldn't work. Because me and Andrew had the discussion about how paranormal's going nowadays, and unfortunately it's getting quite a bit entertaining. It's entertainment only. Sorry, you better ask more. I'll be going on and on.
I think it's really, personally, I think it's a science. I have a colleague who is in a previous guest who is in China, and he and his colleague who is in Arizona, they do a podcast called Xander and Stone, the Paranormal and Science podcast. And Xander investigates things from the paranormal standpoint, and then his colleague Jenna Stone investigates it from the scientific. So one is doing the paranormal side, one's doing the scientific side, and then they put their thoughts together into their podcast. Very interesting, because I think there's both. I think there's paranormal and I think there's scientific. And I think I agree with you, Tim, that when it's done above board and your people have all been checked out and you're doing it with the utmost of respect and responsibility, I think it's a good thing. I think if some people don't want to know, I think that's okay too. But I think that there are probably more people that do, and I think it's great of what.
Yeah, it's getting to a point where some stuff. I mean, it's just fake pictures, fake videos, and then they snap them on YouTube. They put them on Facebook. They put them in the newspaper, and they just. I don't know. They just make a mockery of the paranormal.
Yeah.
And then you get mediums who are charging a fortune. There's investigators who charge a fortune. And I think, if you're given a gift, it's called a gift, I
Mm-hmm.
believe, and a gift is a gift for free.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you start charging for your gifts, then you must be a shop.
I hear
um,
you. I hear you. Yeah.
it didn't seem, it never sits right with me. I don't. I mean, there's even limited. I'm not knocking anyone, whatever. I'm not. But there are these limited companies now. I don't understand why you're a paranormal investigator. You have to be a limited company. It's a business. So, so
Exactly. Yeah.
we're, it's an empire now.
Mm-hmm.
We own the world, financially for this.
Yep. I've made it now. I'm an LLC, and but no, it's a business, and
Yeah,
that's not how we operate here either with our broadcasts. So no,
yeah,
we, as I told you before, we operate with if we get the right content to the right person at the right time,
yeah,
then we've been successful. And I think that's what you folks are doing as well. And our folks will be able to check out your Facebook page, and I know you're on Instagram as well, and be able to.
So
I'm assuming if they like your Facebook page, they'll be notified of when you guys will be on live, and these things are going to go on. Yeah.
well, we just, there's so much video. I mean, some of the cases, like the other one the other day with the CCTV and footage, you're talking probably 90 hours of footage there
Mm-hmm.
to go through, and you can't even skip like a few seconds in case you miss something. So
Yeah.
you got to sit for 90 hours on and off as best you can through the time you can to go through everything. People think, I've done an investigation once, and they turn around and the next day they message me and said, "Have you got anything yet?" Just no, we've got like 90 hours footage to go through. It's not going to be like the next day. I know with this Ghost Adventures, a TV series, so
Mm-hmm.
they show it as they're there for half an hour or whatever, but they do actually there filming for a week.
Oh yeah.
Um, um, but like I said, I've got I've got no. I think you got to cross you got to be careful you don't cross the line as entertainment or real a paranormal investigator. There's your line, and if you start doing TV, blah blah blah, then I think then it becomes entertainment. Then who's gonna respect your evidence? People have sent me messages before and said, "Cool, I bet you made a fortune on that video. What are you doing it for?" So we don't make nothing.
Right.
We don't
Yeah.
we don't need a billion followers. We just want to get the evidence out there for in a way to say that this is we believe is genuine. I mean, if you think, we've had people message us, oh, could it be so and so? Could it be that? Blah blah. And obviously, we've done all that. I mean, someone said to me, I said we caught some figures by the doorway, and we had a camera pointing the other way and the other direction. And I said, "Can why didn't you have a camera covering the other side of the door?" And then I'll be convinced. Then I'd say, "Well, we did have a camera." And then I sent them the footage. And they go, "Well, why didn't you have a camera the other side of that?" I said, "How many cameras do you want us to have? 150? At least we've got some cameras." And then
Exactly.
and then I think if you're doing two CCTV cameras, if they're directly in line with each other, the IR lights light up, so it blocks anything you can see on the other one. So
Right. Right.
that proved they weren't experienced in setting CCTV cameras. You never put them directly opposite each other.
Yeah. People don't know that, and
Yeah. Um,
there's a lot of there's a lot of, just as with podcasting, there's a lot of behind the scenes things that people don't know. And
yes.
you mentioned, there's 90 hours of footage or however many hours, and no, hey, no, I don't have any answers yet. I've looked at 4 hours of this because I'm going through it meticulously. It's like your crime programs on television. They solve the crime in an hour. They have the person prosecuted it within that hour. CSI, crime scene.
Yes.
It doesn't work that way.
No.
That's
No.
entertainment. It doesn't happen that way. I like to say, from the paramedic standpoint, the former paramedic standpoint, if you see me running towards something back in that day, if you saw me running towards something, I'm running away from it. I'm not running into it. That you don't fly in all this fast, run, da 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 da. No. Fire
No.
and EMS don't do that. That's Hollywood. That's television. That's not how it really works.
It's all. Um, I mean, I've watched footage before, and I've seen it. I watched it. Some of our camera work, and I looked at it. I thought, no, I didn't hear nothing, didn't see nothing. Then the strange thing, another time I look at it, I thought, oh, let me just go and check through that. I'll triple check it. I sometimes go through the same footage 3 times, 4 times, just in case I missed something. And I went through it about the three or 4 times, and I spotted this loud voice. This, I think it was a gentleman speaking on there. I'm like, what the hell? How can I miss that? I've just been through it. How have I not heard that, I should say? And it's surprisingly, it's just, I could have been distracted just for the few seconds, and I missed an amazing, EVP. I'm like, can't believe I missed that.
Well, and sometimes when you're listening to something or watching something for so long, you just get your field of vision fixed on something that it happens. I mean, that's just part of us being human, I think.
Yeah. Well, the only trouble we have with EVPs is everyone's voice. The only thing difficult bit, if you've got someone who you don't know, say, and they get invited or whatever, you've got to learn their voice very quickly. I have to make sure I know their voice straight away as soon as I speak to them. So I put that in my head for when I go back on the footage, that voice comes back again, and I go, that's so and so. He was there. So you've got to learn all the voices in there and all the surrounding noises. If there's a field, there could be a cow or whatever in the field that makes a certain noise, or a certain bird that makes a certain noise. Outdoor investigations are very difficult because of the contamination of sound. If you know what I mean, sound travels.
Yes,
so there could be a child playing in the garden or whatever. And screaming and laughing, and that can travel quite a distance to where you are, and you could pick it up. So you have to be careful on the out. Indoors one, you're a bit more secure because you've got, I've catch an EVP in a bank vault before.
Oh,
and it echoed.
Interesting.
Which was quite interesting. Yeah. Which is quite impressive. So that was telling me whoever that was actually standing in that vault with us. And I set up what we call a laser trigger. You break the laser and it sets an alarm off. I put it in the doorway of the bank vault, and that kept triggering it quite a few times. It set it off.
So something was there with you.
Something was going in that vault. And the thing is, I think we've done the EVP recording, which we do. It's a basic recorder. And you just record while you're asking questions. And they'll be catching the voice on there as well, as I was exactly the same as time I caught it on another camera. So backup cameras and stuff. So yeah, that's quite interesting. And the most amazing thing is when you hear them yourself, you get audio. You hear a baby cry, and we've heard that horses. That's the place we heard the other day at the fort. We actually had a few people witnessed hearing horses galloping, and I think we might have it on recording as well. We've got to obviously check that, and children giggling, but it's a difficult children because it was partly outside, so it's tricky because there is a house and place behind. So that, mind you, I don't think there'd be many kids laughing at like midnight. I don't know,
No.
possibly.
And there's,
doubt
I'm
it.
going to guess, I'm going to guess there's no horses there either.
No, there's none.
No.
not one horse. I've heard that before as well. St George's Theatre, we were there. We had a baby crying in there, and these old buildings. These walls are thick, and they're well insulated. You know, the insulation of the sound is quite impressive. We've done a nuclear bunker, which was quite impressive because we did get an EVP in there. They're good places to do because it's insulated from anything. Obviously, it has to be during the Cold War. You know, stop the Russians or whoever spying. So that's well insulated underground, about 50 feet or 20 feet underground. You're not going to get no interference from the outside world.
No, the ambient noise in that location is nothing.
Yeah, and three firemen had died in that building as well, with a fire outbreak. But when, unfortunately, they didn't know the layout of the nuclear bunker because that was all top secret. Local firemen trying to put out a fire at a nuclear bunker, and they didn't know how it was laid out. Unfortunately, ran out of oxygen and died. Unfortunately.
Oh my.
Yeah, and where they died near the stairs is where we got quite a bit of evidence. On the SLS cam, we had I don't know to say this, but we had a figure laying on the floor, like someone dead body lying there. It didn't move; it just laid out flat out on the floor, and REM pods but it was only in a certain area we were getting all the evidence. Everywhere else is nothing, which is quite interesting.
Wow.
The place where they, unfortunately, they pass.
Yeah,
it's a sad story. Again, we've done it, raise money for the charity. We've done that for. So,
sad story, but interesting from a scientific standpoint, though.
Yes. Oh, yes. I've requested many top scientists or whatever you want to do. I'd like anyone. He's think, it's a load of rubbish, or I can prove different, or to us come along to any university and hopefully we can bring this communication forward and they'd witness it. I mean, there was a £1 million reward for doing it if you can communicate with the thing. But the trouble with us, they have to come. Partly, I think, would it work? Us going to a lock up where it's all secure, and would it work? Or we got to be in that position where we're in the location where they haunt. We can't take the location to them. This is the difficult thing.
Right.
So I'd like to think it would work, and we could communicate through our devices and bits and bobs. I mean, I built my Goose box myself, and we've had some amazing stuff come through that. It's beyond mind blowing. Even on a live, we done a live, and we asked. The thing is, when our admin Robin said, she said, can you name who's watching the live? Can you name some of the people in the live? And it named quite a few in the live, which is quite. The first word it said, "Hello, Robin." As soon as she said it, she messaged me and she said, looked at it and said, "Can you name some of us in the live?" And as soon as it said that, went Robin, Carol, which is another admin. I was saying some of the names. He was on the live straight off, which is beyond. Whoa, hang on, what's going on here? How would you know this? So you read and use a phone for the live at the time.
Yeah, you would have no way. They would have no way of knowing that. Tim, you're working on a book. I know it's a work in progress, and I know it's been in progress for some time, as most great works are. But can you tell us a little bit about your book that's upcoming whenever it's finished?
Whenever. Can you hear me still?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, my headphones are playing up, so I think connection. What we're doing, just do the local, apparent haunted locations in the area in Norfolk or East Anglia. But I got a little twist on it because I'm doing all the history of it, and maybe I should be telling everyone this because in case they nick my idea. Because
I'll leave it all up to you.
Oh yeah, I don't mind. But yeah, I'm doing a paranormal view of the East Anglia, so it's not just tales from the past, ghost stories and all things, which will be included in it. That's going to have different things in it, so it's like the legends, the ghost apparently, that haunts the area, plus my view of me investigating it, what I found, and so it's got that sort of thing to it on each location. So it's like the legends, like the witch, St Mary's. There's a witch with a wooden leg that brought down the church. East Somerton. And so I've done the legends of that. You walk around the tree 3 times and you get cast. And people said there's something dodgy, but people wouldn't even go in their area. They don't like it at all. Weird atmosphere and dread and whatever. And so I do the legend story, which is the legend that the witch was executed and buried in the bottom of the church, and a wooden leg grew and destroyed the church. There's a great big oak tree in the middle of the church. The church is destroyed now. There's just partially the walls around it. They went, and that was the witch's curse back on who murdered her. That's the story.
Interesting.
And then I'll do what ghost sightings are seen. There's apparently a chap who walks around there, and this other lady that walks around, sightings around here. Then I do my bit where, as an investigator, what I've seen and what I've seen. A 7-foot figure walking around down the SLS camera. I've had the lady communicate with me there a few times, and the energy can be crazy there. I've even been touched on the head with a cold hand once.
Oh my!
And my head was frozen solid. And so my head went all numb and cold after something. The thing is, with these things, you've got to debunk them as human body things.
Yeah.
Like when you trump, that a natural occurrence of your body, you suddenly your head gone cold for some. It was just interesting that happened just after I felt my head touched. I had my neck stroked at one place, and there was all red marks, like a handprint on my neck, which I still got the pictures of that.
And there's nothing there.
But there's nothing there, yeah. And I was on the lavatory at the time. Yes.
Now that's interesting.
Yes. And I wasn't expecting that. I just felt like something, like a hand just tickle the side of my neck all the way down. And I went, like goosebumps. I thought, God, I felt that. First, I think it's a bug, or it could be a spider, or something. And I looked around, there's nothing, not a thing. So I couldn't work out what it was. Could it be a natural occurrence to your neck muscle spasms, that sort of thing? Could have been, it's possible. But the interesting thing, I had these big red marks on my neck. I'll have to send you the picture. I had these big red marks on my hand, on my neck. And my neck felt really hot, burning, really burning hot afterwards as well, which is interesting.
Doesn't sound normal to me. Sounds paranormal to me.
Yeah, because we've experienced different things. I mean, Natasha felt like she's been strangled once, and when we looked at her neck, there was a bright red mark going all the way around her neck, like she'd had a rope around her neck. It was a massive red mark going all the way around her neck, which was quite interesting. And we've had, like I said, I got touched in the head. The weird thing, I was sat in this place once, and this is the same place where I got stroked on the neck. I felt something brush my leg, and I thought, oh, what was that? Something touched my leg as it went past, like a cat or a dog or something. I went, that's strange. that certainly made me move. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, and I thought, well, look, it was a spider, and I'm like, rubbing my legs, just touch my leg to see if there's a spider or a fly or something. Just touch my legs. That is possible. So I did have short. Did I have shorts on at the top? No, I think I had jeans on at the top actually, which is another interesting thing. And
Yes.
and I thought that's interesting. And then we were talking to him, and then the medium picked up there was a dog there. The rooms around there. The lady who owns the premises said there was a dog there. This other chap said there was a dog there. And then our other medium turned up later on another day on investigation. First thing she said, there's a dog running around me. But that was interesting. And she didn't have no clue about the place, she just come in and just, hello, there's a dog running around in here. Said, oh, okay. And then I thought about, and we did get some on the, again, on the Goose Box mentioned about chasing their dog, or they're looking for their dog or something in there. A little boy said, they're looking for my dog. We did get a name for the dog, actually. And it looked like Tintin's dog, like Patch. Yeah, Patchy sort of. Is that Tintin's dog, Patchy, over the eye? I think she described it. So that was quite interesting.
Very much so. Well, we're going to watch for the book, and
Yes.
we know it's a work in progress, but we're going to watch for the book. And
A long progress.
yes. Well, the best works take a long time, and so that's okay. And we're also going to make sure in the show notes that we have all of Ghosted UK's social media, your Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, your email address, so folks can get in contact with you. All of these will be available on the show notes of this broadcast. And I certainly hope, Tim Johnson, that you will come back and share with us some more at some time, because this has been a very, very interesting conversation. I have enjoyed it immensely, and I know our audience is going to enjoy it as well.
Yes, don't forget you can edit this to 20 minutes if you like. I got so much to tell, you see, and that's the problem with me. I like to show my, what's the word? Share my experiences with
Absolutely. And that's what we want to do. And I know our audience is definitely interested in that. So maybe we'll be able to do something episodic down in the future, but we'll definitely have you come on again and definitely do that. I know that Ghosted UK is a nonprofit organization. Is there anything that our audience can do to help your research? Do you guys take donations, anything like that?
No,
anything that they can
no,
do?
we don't take nothing, no donations. Okay. No, not at all. We're not interested. Yeah, all self-supporting. So yeah, we sometimes do charity stuff and things like that, but that go, Salvation Army and things like that. We do charity work for them. We do the investigation. We don't charge, but we just like to do them, and then people paying, and all the money goes to the charity, or the location, because a lot of these theatres and that, I'm sure in America, limited funds. They can borrow to keep the theatres open now, because it's all online now, isn't it?
Yes, everything is streaming. I understand the theaters are back open again. I have not been yet, but a lot has changed in a year's time.
Yes.
And most definitely. Well, we will make sure that all of your information is out there for people to get in contact with you and follow you guys on your social media. It's been a very enjoyable. Tim Johnson, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Lovely speaking to you.
Absolutely. Cheers, my friend.
Yep. Bye. Thank you.
This is the Papa Jeff's America program. We are the talk radio podcast, continuing a conversation, one podcast at a time. For joining us today for the Papa Jeff's America program. Check out more episodes of the Talk Radio podcast at papajeffusa.com. You can subscribe through the link on our website or wherever you get your podcasts. We're on all the major platforms. PapaJeffUSA.com is your home for everything Papa Jeff, anytime, any device. And while you're there, you can check out more episodes of the broadcast, get in contact with us, and easily link to all of our social media. Your thoughts, comments, suggestions, and feedback are what really make this program happen. So send us an email at our website, PapaJeffUSA.com. Please help us get the word out and share our broadcast with all of your social media followers, because sharing is caring. And speaking of caring, if you'd like to help us coffee up here at the Talk Radio Podcast, give a click to the Buy Me a Coffee link on our website. You know how much Papa Jeff loves his coffee. Let's all remember to follow the CDC's as well as your state and local COVID guidelines. Get the vaccine when it's your turn. And let's all do the right thing and take care of each other. Remember, disagree doesn't mean dislike. We're all in this together. Thanks again for joining us today, and next time bring a friend with you. We're looking forward to seeing you next time on the Talk Radio Podcast, continuing the conversation, one podcast at a time.